So our first Dr. Light story in quite a long time. But how did it go? Well, let's find out. G'day Whovians and welcome to a brand new episode of Who Review. This week I'll be talking about the brand new creepy episode called 73 Yards. Before I jump straight into this week's review, make sure that you do leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss a brand new episode of Who Review every single week. And as usual, spoilers.
Spoilers.
So this story was very uncomfortable from the very first moment that the Doctor and Ruby stepped out of the TARDIS. I thought that Russell T Davies was rather brave giving us a Dr. Light episode for such a short series and for giving us a Dr. Light episode when we haven't really gotten enough time yet to get to know the Doctor. But nevertheless, for me, I thought that Millie Gibson was phenomenal in this story. Going into this story, there was so much that we didn't know about what to expect, and so throughout the entire episode I think I was just very nervous for Ruby throughout the entire story. Early on in the story we saw Susan Twist as a hiker, and Ruby sort of recognised her slightly. This was by memory the most interactions that we've had between the main cast and Susan Twist so far, so I don't know, it felt like things are getting more face on with this character, whoever she may be. Now this episode didn't have an opening sequence, which really weirded me out. I don't know why. It just felt like the entire episode I was expecting the opening to come and it just didn't. And I don't know why, but it made me very uncomfortable. The characters in the pub were great, and Russell T Davies is really good at giving us side characters that are somewhat interesting. If anything though, I also found these characters to be really creepy in this extremely uncomfortable story. Now it did make me really uncomfortable and really sad and emotional to see this different side to Ruby and seeing her rejected by those closest to her. Now the return of Kate Stewart was unexpected, but such a wonderful surprise as well. The chemistry between Ruby and Kate was fantastic, and I really liked the way that Kate spoke about the Doctor, describing him, that she adores him. That was really lovely. And one thing I also did like about the return of Unit was seeing Unit in full military action again. That was really, really cool. But the fact that even Unit was no match for this woman was honestly terrifying. Now the character of Roger Ap William was certainly an interesting character. I would have loved to have seen more of him as a bigger villain, similar to something along the lines of Harold Saxon, but he was also a character that made me very uncomfortable, and I didn't trust him at all. It would have been nice to have this character appear a lot more in the series as sort of a story arc. That's what it was played out to be in, filming photos and things like that. But nevertheless, it was a great character. Now it was very unexpected for us to see Ruby 40 years later. It was, it was strangely emotional. And the ending itself, for me, felt slightly rushed, and the pacing seemed a bit odd. But I truly didn't expect for the woman who was following Ruby to be Ruby. But then if that was an older version of Ruby, then why did everyone who came close to her make them terrified and run away? Unless I missed something important, that didn't make much sense to me. The sound of hearing the theme song come on at the end of the episode, it was such a warm feeling. It was so nice to hear the theme song. I'd missed it the whole episode. Millie Gibson was truly amazing in this story. I thought that her acting was phenomenal, and I loved that this story really allowed us to get to know Ruby a lot deeper, and then we got to see a very different side to our new companion, with Ruby questioning the Doctor, questioning her life, and then basically fighting for her own sanity. Throughout the entire story, I was uncomfortable and creeped out, and yet the story was good. It didn't necessarily feel like Doctor Who, and yet I thought it worked quite well. Russell T Davies is good at writing stories that make you feel uncomfortable in subtle ways, such as Midnight or Turn Left or his show Years and Years. 73 Yards was a really good story with an ending that didn't hold up, and yet Millie Gibson carried this story beautifully. I enjoyed this story, but I think I need another watch to fully sort of grasp it all. There are a lot of unanswered questions and some confusing details, but overall, not a horrible story this week. 73 yards, 7 out of 10. Next week is Dot and Bubble. This episode we know quite simply nothing about, so I'm very excited to see what's in store for us. But what did you think of 73 yards? Let me know in the comments down below.
Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the Whovian Commonly YouTube channel. Cool.